Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Kerrang's London HQ. I'm Sam Korn, the editor of Kerrang, and you're joining us this evening for a very special evening with Jonathan Davis of Korn. Let's have a round of applause for Jonathan, please.
Thanks.
How are you today?
Jet lagged.
It's been a long day.
Yeah, it's all good though.
So we'll start with the reason that you're here in England right now.
Yeah.
It might surprise some people for you to suddenly pop up here. But rather excitingly, there is going to be a new 13th Korn record coming out later this year.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So this is the first time that anyone here or anyone in the world will have heard about this new Korn record. So
Wow.
introduce the new Korn record to us, Jonathan.
What am I supposed to say? What it's called? I mean, you want me to sing it? How do you introduce it? No. New Korn record. It's called Nothing. It's a record I'm really proud of. I worked really hard on it. The rest of the members worked hard and really did a great job. It's a very dark record. It's basically me dealing with all the stuff that happened to me last year. Very emotional for me, but you know, it is what it is. And I can't wait for people to hear it. I really spent a long time on doing what I wanted to do this time. Producers came in and people trying to get me to do one thing this way or the other way. Everybody was overthinking a lot of things, but I finally just was fed up with it, kicked everyone out and said it'll be done when it's done. And I locked myself up in my studio and spent a long time reflecting and just healing and making my art. And, a couple months later I came out and it's done and I just can't wait for you to hear it. Can't explain much. The whole record is, one could say concept record, but it's about basically the same thing. All the different songs are about this dark energy that's followed me around and with all the things that was going on last year, me just embracing it, running from it, just trying to navigate myself through all the chaos that I was having at that time.
Were there plans for a new Korn record before the events of last year, or was that the trigger in you wanting to?
No, they were working on it. I was last year doing my solo thing when I was touring. The band was writing, so they were already writing. But then things happened. I got done with that record, or done with that touring cycle. All this stuff happened. I finished my tour out, and then we did the 20th anniversary of Follow Leader, and after that, I went right in the studio after that. But I just had to take some time and get my head straight and figure out what I wanted to do.
How did the process of that solo record, Black Labyrinth, what did you take from working on that into this Korn record? Any learnings or ideas?
No, because I did Black Labyrinth 10 years ago. So that has been sitting on a shelf for 10 fucking years. And I finally got to put it out. So this time I just wanted to do something special. I was going through a lot. I wanted to take my time and do something I'd be proud of, because it was really was the first time in a long time I had time to do it and not be worrying about stuff going on at home. I could actually focus on my art. So I just went for it, and I didn't know it was going to happen, but I'm really glad with the outcome. I took a lot of time. I mean, there's tracks I got there that I sang. There's like 20 different vocal tracks and choruses, and I really took the time and did the work, and it paid off.
How was creating this record in terms of the healing process for you and everything you were going through?
It sucked. I'm not going to say it didn't. It was just really hard, but that's how I've always dealt with all my problems, is just throwing my heart and soul into my art. And I went through it, and it was very hard. There was some really emotional times, but it was nice just being alone by myself with my engineer. That was it. There's just two of us in the studio. Usually on the last couple of records, I had my kids there, and I really couldn't. I was just all over the place. This time I could really concentrate and just do what I had to do and get out what I needed to get out.
In terms of the sound of the record, I think at every step of Korn's career, your albums have always progressed or offered something different from the ones before or from any other one in the catalogue. How does this one differ to anything that has come under the Korn name before?
I mean, it's just It's just a different beast. This time, when the band really brought it, they did really, really cool things, fresh kind of sounding stuff. I think that's the biggest difference is what I did vocally on it. I wasn't in a hurry. I wasn't in a rush to get stuff done. I didn't settle. I had time. I would record something and I'd take it home and listen and go, I don't know. But it was just me finding myself. I wasn't listening to producers, other people having their opinions. It was just my thing. And then sometimes I could be more critical than a producer, but I had that luxury at the time.
How long did that process go on for?
Shit. 4 months, I think. 4 or 5 months.
How does that compare to
I usually do
previous?
1 or 2 weeks.
Wow, okay. That's
So-
speedy.
So, yeah, because I had to. I had no choice. I had to get done and get back to taking care of my kids and doing that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it took a while. It definitely took a while, but I wasn't going to settle, and I wanted it to be real. I wasn't going to sit there and go, hey, tune that, or do this or do that. I just wanted to do it, do it the correct way, where I thought was the best way and the most possible, best performance and the realest performance I could do. And just lose myself and figure out how to deal with what I just been dealt.
This record's going to mark your 13th studio record
Yeah.
in 25 years, which is
Pretty crazy.
an incredible strike rate,
You're
incredibly prolific.
Yeah.
What do you put that kind of prolificity down to as a band?
That we get along. That, we enjoy making music together. That we still strive to do things that are exciting and take chances. And we're not scared to do that. And there's still that passion in the band. And I think that we still have that going, and that drives us to keep, trying to do better each time. Mm-hmm. This is crazy. 13 records. Who would have thought? It's insane.
It's mad. I'm not sure there's any band on earth that could ever say that in a 25-year period they have done 13 records.
It's pretty insane. I know.
How do you look back on that discography?
What a crazy ride. I mean, everyone's been different. Different approaches, different producers. I love the body of work. I listen and I always critique myself. I wish I would have done this or would have done that. But each one is just like a stamp in time in my head when I was going through. And it's just like, for me, it's like reading a book of my life and all the things going through. So it's pretty incredible. Like I say, I pinch myself every day. I'm like, I can't believe this is still happening, and everything that's gone down and the way things are going are still going the way they're going.
When you talk about the time that you were able to take on this new record, are there any of those records that you look back on in your past that you particularly wish that you'd taken a bit more time on than you did?
No, because if I did, it would change them. It just is necessary. But, you learn. There's like album like Untouchables we did, and that took us 2.5 years. Then we did Take a Look in the Mirror, and that was a reaction to that. We did that shit in 4 months because we just wanted to do something raw. It just depends. Each one's its own thing. So I'm glad I did, I say we always we live in a matrix. A matrix just made it that way. This is how it ended up this time. Next time it could be completely different.
With so many albums to your name, as I say, that when we mentioned earlier that there feels like there's such a difference to every Korn record, and that they move from different genres and they bring in different influences.
Yeah.
Yet, if you were to say the name Korn to a lot of rock fans, the first thing they would say is new metal.
Right.
Do you feel that's a bit unfair on you guys, that you would still be thought of in that regard?
I used to get so pissed off, but I don't fucking care anymore. I swear to God, call us whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. I used to fight and be pissed. How can you call us that? In the beginning, in 1993, when we were doing this shit, 94 when it came out, we were not a metal band. A metal band was like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, and all due respect to them, that's what they were. But we weren't a metal band, and that's what they're trying to lump us in. And so we went out, and they tried to stick us on all these different tours. I remember opening up for Pennywise and No Doubt. We're opening up for KMFDM, just all these different bands and metal bands, and it just seemed like the metal community took us in. And that was great, and we were doing our thing, and then all the little copycat bands started coming out. And then it became a movement, and then it became nu metal. So that's how that happened, but whatever, gives a fuck. I don't anymore.
Do you feel it gets like a bad rap, the name nu metal? That's not a terrible
Yeah, it
pun.
just
I
seems
didn't
like
mean that.
when I hear nu metal, I just think machismo, kind of rap rocky, kind of just, I don't know. Just a lot of bad music. There were some great ones, but there's a lot of bad ones too. Yeah.
Where do you feel that you fit in, or is that the beauty of Korn that
Beauty of
you?
Korn,
that you
I've
don't?
always felt like I've never fit in anywhere really. I mean, the metal community took us in, and I love it because it's just like a bunch of just misfits and do what you want and you're accepted, and it's great. But I never felt we ever fit in anywhere. We're just our own thing. And that's just me personally. My bandmates, they love it. Metal, whatever category, I don't care. But for me, I never felt, and that's just probably me not just being comfortable in my own skin. That's just probably shit I do in my own head. But whatever, there's beautiful fans out there enjoying our music, so that's all I give a fuck about.
As well as having a new Korn record this year, also marks 25 years since that debut record.
Yeah.
You infamously opened it with the line, "Are you ready?" Looking back, were you ready for the journey that it sent you on at that time?
I was in my wildest dreams hoping that it would happen, and it did, but who knows? I mean, in the beginning, I remember going and playing, like, we did this thing where it was called Foundations Forum. We played it, but before that, like a year earlier, we went and we played the demo, and we played blind for the A&R panel, and they're listening to it, and they're just critiquing us like, oh, it takes too long to get the vocals. You need to do this and do that. Just talking all this shit, and they had no idea what was going to happen. Just a long, crazy journey. We had no idea what was going to happen, but we knew when we played shows, there'd be like 12 people there, and the next time there'd be like 24 and a double. So we just based our whole thing on playing live. And that's what we're still here 25 years later doing, and that's what it was all about.
What do you think you've most learned in that 25-year journey about yourself?
That I'm a tough son of a bitch. It's hard. Living on the road's hard. Being away from your family's hard. Playing those songs every night and with the integrity and giving 100% is hard. It's not what you think it is. You just have this thing in your mind what you think it's going to be, and it's totally not that. It's work, and it's hard. It's fun when you're like in 20, when it first started, going out partying, getting crazy, and doing all that shit, but then it turns into work. Then it turns in you're missing your son's first day at school. You're missing his birthdays. You feel like it's rough. But it's also very rewarding when you talk to someone and say, you helped me in a really tough part of my life. Thank you. And then that's all the reward in the world. You just got to give yourself. And, you pay for it. I fucking hurt every day from 25 years of banging my fucking head and the shit I do on stage. But, hey, it is what it is. And I wouldn't change a thing.
Does it get easier to deal with some of those things of being away for a long period of time or not seeing your family for long periods of time?
Well, it gets easier. I've learned how to deal with it now. But all through that, it was really tough. It was. That's one reason why I got so fucked up all the time, was drinking to cover up other issues. And you learn how to cope, and you go do things, and you make it up to your kids, and it's all good.
When you talk about those interactions that you have with fans when they say how much your music has helped them, does that carry a weight for you? From talking to other people exactly on here, there's sort of a thing where some people love that and other people really carry the weight of people telling them those stories and those very personal things. Do you feel any of that weight, or is it all beneficial to you?
I love it. It just makes me feel like I'm doing something positive, that out of my pain came something good. And that's the reason why I'm here. I could retire a long time ago. I don't have to do this. But I love helping kids, and I love making art. So here I am.
That debut record 25 years ago was such a huge gateway album for probably so many people in this room as well. That was their first entry point to rock and metal. What growing up as a kid, what were those kind of entry points for you?
I didn't listen to rock music at all. I listened to more like English new romantic shit like Adam Ant, Duran Duran, and all those kind of bands. So that was my Korn, The Cure. That was my Korn, stuff like that. I didn't really get into heavy music until, well, I had a brief little period where I got to listen. I was listening like Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil, and Dio, Last in Line, all that stuff. And then my dad became a born again Christian and burned them all and scarred me, scared the fucking shit out of me, saying the devil was going to take me over and all this shit. So then that pushed me in a different direction. And that's when I got like the first album, what is it, Twitch by Ministry. And then I got into Skinny Puppy and then this Specimen, down to Christian Death, all that goth shit. And then it just turned into the new romantic, new wave shit. I really loved Adam Ant and Duran Duran. Those are my two. And The Cure. And then after that, I got into, I started DJing. That's when I got into New York freestyle music. Mm-hmm. And that's all the club music was going on in New York in the 80s. And that was my thing for a while. And then this album, the album Vulgar Display of Power came out. And I was like, holy shit, I loved it. Because I loved the groove part of it. It just, we wanted to make you move. But there was this heaviness about it. And after that, I was sold. And I started listening to more and more rock music.
That sort of shift from kind of rock and heavy music into the sort of the dance world and the club music you talk about. Obviously, you've done a lot of DJing as well through your career. What are the similarities and the parallels that you see between the rock world and the dance world?
I just think everybody's just going to have a good time, pretty much. But as in being similar, there's nothing similar. It's two different things. Going to a DJ gig and a rock show are just completely two different things. They're two separate experiences, and I love both of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How
do those experiences differ for you? What do you feel when you're on stage with Korn that differs to when you're behind the decks?
When I'm on stage with Korn, it's something that's organic. We're actually playing the instruments. It's live. When you're in a DJ gig, it's something you've already made pre-recorded and you're playing it with a button. That's the biggest difference. I know they say you're performing on, I'm not putting it down, but that's how they perform in electronic music. But if you add elements of more live stuff, I'd really be into it more. But back when I was DJing and doing the first thing, I really got into it. But I wanted to try and, how do you make this more live? How do you make it something more of a show? And then I just said, fucking gave up. Go back to rock music.
Jess, who's in our audience tonight, wanted to know which Korn record took the most time and the most energy for you to
Untouchables. Definitely that record. It took 2.5 years. Producer Michael Beinhorn was crazy. I love him to death. He's one of the only producers I still talk to this day that we've worked with a lot. Him and Ross and Nick, I knew this one, but that album was crazy. It took 2.5 years. He wanted everything to be perfect. I'd come sing, and he'd say, nope, your voice ain't right, when I know it was perfectly fine. But he heard something in my voice I didn't hear and send me home. It's really frustrating. But at the end, that record to me is just amazing. I call it the heavy metal Asia. Just sonically, it sounds so fucking good. And that's because he spent so much time doing it, making it perfect.
How did you respond to that at that time? Were you receptive to that, or did you push back against that?
I pushed back a lot. We butt heads a lot, but he kept saying, this is what you do when you make a rock. Nobody makes and puts the time to make a good rock record anymore. Everybody's in a hurry to do this and do that. Take your time. You got to do this. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. And we weren't like tuning vocals. I mean, I had to nail everything, performance and everything in tune perfect. And there was no in between. There was no great. It's like either was great or nope, go home. I don't know how many times I went home. It's like, nope, your voice ain't right, bye. What? It's just very frustrating. But now I could look back and listen to it. That sonically, there's nothing that sounds like that record.
Do you feel you had that advice in your head when you were making this record, and you decided that, I do need to take the time with this. I do need to make this perfect?
I just wanted to do this because I've always wanted to do it, and I never had the time. I just was taking influences from like ELO, ABBA, Queen, all those bands that took the time and did those huge vocal beds. Like Def Leppard do them too. Just you sit there and you do one vocal take, switch mic, next vocal take, you double and triple I'd triple every harmony, and I'd do 4 and 5 piece part harmonies. And that's getting up and upward 20, 24 tracks on choruses and stuff like that. It takes a long time. But when you hear it, the finished product, it's like so huge and beautiful and just sits in the track just how it should. It's just, I don't know, there's nothing like it. And it's fun doing it.
On the flip side to that question, which was the easiest and quickest Korn record to put together?
Trying to think, out of all of them, probably Life is Peachy. Because we came right off the road to keep the momentum going. We went in and we knocked that record out in less than 3 months.
Start to finish?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because we need to get back out on the road and keep doing what we're doing. Yeah. So that was pretty quick.
Amanda, who I believe is in the room tonight, asked you who influences your music now, and if you're going to take Korn into other genres and mix things with your sound now, where would you go with it?
I don't know what. There's nothing that's really influences me. Stuff inspires me to go do what I do, but I've been really just listening to a lot of 20s, 30s, and 40s styles of music, the old big band stuff, and stuff done on old ribbon mics. It's just, I call it murder music. It's just dark stuff when you're listening to it. I got an old phonograph at the studio with the old 78 record player, and you put the needle on there, you got to crank it up and play that shit. And it's just something dark about it that I like. I've been listening to that a lot. As of music right now, nothing's really is good. It just seems like it's so, like, at least in the rock world, they call it active rock. It seems like all these bands that are coming out sound the exact same. They use the same exact formula, same exact tones. You're listening to the same song just performed by different people. So I'm just waiting for something to grab my attention.
Is there anything that you've heard that does that?
There's a band called Skin, which I did a song with them on their EP. I like what they're doing a lot. It's really dark, about serial killers and shit. Really good. This is different. I like that. And but other than that, I'm trying to think. No, not really. I mean, just been listening to the old oldies but goodies, I guess.
Where do you go to find that old music? Is it something that you've long enjoyed, or have you recently become?
I just turn on, if you go to satellite radio, you got, those 30s and 40s, 50s. You can go all the way just the decades of music, and I just listen to it. I listen to most of the music when I'm in my car, driving around. When I'm in my free time, the last fucking thing I want to do is listen to music. So I'm usually playing video games or playing with my kids and doing stuff like that.
In terms of video games, you are an avid gamer. What is it you enjoy about video games as an art form?
I love it because it takes me out of my head. And you sit and you go into a video game, you go into different worlds and play. You're not here right now. You're in that world, and it just takes some of the crazy shit you think in your head, all the stuff that goes on in there away, and it's like a release. That's why I've always been into video games so much. Same thing with music. It's an experience. If you sit there and put your headphones on and listen to music, you're not in your head. You're experiencing that moment, and that's what I really like about it.
What have you been playing recently?
I've been playing, what did I play recently? I went back and started playing Borderlands again, the first one. And I just went to E3 with my kids, and they just lost their shit because I got to go to the Fortnite booth, and went to the Borderlands 3 is coming out, and I got to hang out, and I met the guy that invented Borderlands, and that was really cool. Just go do nerdy shit like that. It's fun.
What's your all-time favorite video game? If you could take one that you could only ever play forever, what would it be?
I was Zelda, Wind Waker. That one that came out on a PA. No, that was just on the Nintendo. What the fuck was it called? No, it was the box. The cube. The cube. Yes, it was Zelda Wind Waker. That game was badass at the time. was one of my favorites. I like just doing like shit. You got to go look around and find shit. And I'm not into first-person shooters except for like Borderlands. That's fun. You got to go to quests, but most of the shit's like more role-playing kind of stuff. Stuff that makes me, you got to think, solve puzzles, do shit like that.
You mentioned taking your kids to E3. How did fatherhood change you?
I mean, it made me, I'm not just responsible for me no more. I mean, when Nathan was born, that was a big shock to me. I was like, holy shit, I'm a dad now. I left when he was born. I got to spend a couple hours with him, and then I had to go do an interview for a fucking radio station. The car picked me up and took me away. I didn't even get to go home with him first time. Then once the band started picking up more, I got to spend more and more time with him, and that got me sober. That got me, I was going down a really dark path before he was born. And then when I had Pirate and Zeppelin, that just put me over the top. I just love being a dad. I got 3 little dudes that depend on me. One, Nathan's 23 now. It's crazy. And he's off doing his own music stuff now. He travels all over the world DJing and shit, so that's pretty a trip. That's crazy. There was one night on my solo tour, we played the same night in the same city. So he came to my show and watched me play, and then after I was done, I went to his show after, so that was pretty surreal.
Who had the bigger crowd?
Me, but it was fucking cool anyways. But, and then, being dad to Pirate and Zeppy, it's fun. I love it.
Did you have any advice for your lad going into music, or did you think you need to do this for yourself? And
I just supported him. I didn't want to give him, he needs to make his own mistakes and figure it out on himself. I'm back there just watching. If anyone fucks him, I will kill him. But I just got to let him make those mistakes. And let him, you've left the fucking the house, and you go do your thing, and I wish you the best. And and you know what? He did it good. He made it on his own. I never helped. For forever, no one knew he was my son and that what he did. So he did it on his own. That makes him feel more proud even. Makes me even proud that what he was doing is worth a shit, Is
it funny seeing him on stage? Do you see a part of yourself in the performer?
I see his little goofy ass up there, that little goofy ass kid. Diapers, I see all kinds of stuff. But it just makes me happy because it looks like he's having a good time. And that's what it's all about. When it's come down to it, yeah, it's different. He's programming on a computer, doing fist pumping and doing all that shit, but it's still heavy, it's still intense, and he enjoys it.
Have you ever worked with him on anything?
Yeah, we've fucked around in the studio before. We've done stuff. We've worked on beats for Pirate, and Pirate raps on it, and we do all these fun little shit at the studio. That's like when we go to the studio. That's like my Neverland. We have things all decked out in Nerf guns and video games, and it's just like you're 14 there. We make music, play video games, just escape the world.
Aaron, who I believe is in the room, to sort of follow up on that. Said, he wanted to know you've collaborated with a lot of people over the years. Mm-hmm. Is there anyone that you would still really have on your bucket list of wanting to work with?
Well, trying to think. No. I just like making art with whoever. I don't care. I'm trying to think of anyone I would want to collaborate. I mean, I'd love to do something with Nails one day. I'd love to do something with Robert Plant. He's my favorite singer. I'd love to do with anyone, just my heroes that did. That'd be fun. Is that really going to happen? Who knows? Or even do I want to do that? Will I have all these high expectations and they be a total dick and just ruin the whole thing? You never know. So I'm cool. If you want to collaborate with something, I'm down, whatever.
Robert Plant and The Cure obviously mean a great deal to you.
Yeah.
What was it about their music in particular that spoke to you when you were younger?
Well, Led Zeppelin, it was the groove. It was that rhythm section. It was John Bonham. It was how that band, just how Bonham and John Paul Jones, the bass rushed and the drums lagged, how they created that crazy rhythm section, and how Robert Plant just sang just so beautifully over it. It moved your soul. When I first heard Whole Lotta Love, I was just a little kid, and my aunt was dancing around the room. She said, "You got to hear this." You know, there's a really cool story about that is the actual console. When she passed away, I got the console. I heard my first Led Zeppelin record on, and I have it in my studio. And I look at it for inspiration because that started me down my whole path. Those little things, like tangible things that I can see and hold, really inspire me. But that band did a lot for me. Watching my parents do a local version of Jesus Christ Superstar, those kind of things, those inspire me. All the crazy shit, show tunes, man. I love show tunes. I can't help it, but I do. I love all that stuff. All these things in my life inspired me to make the music I make now. And then you get into the Cure and those bands when I was a teenager, and a lot of fans, older Korn fans that they were coming up. The bands that were that for me were like the Cure and Adam Ant, Duran Duran. Those were my bands then. And I never stopped loving music. I'm into all kinds.
Mike from Chicago, who hasn't come over here, slacking Mike. He wanted to know whether there's any chance that we'll ever hear the Korn covers album.
We did a bunch of covers. I hope to hell we got like 4 or 5. We just got to get enough to make a record, and we'll probably do it sometime. But every time we do it, the manager comes, it's like, they're useless. You're not gonna. Why would you put that out? We're doing the album cycle here. It's something you do on the side. We got some really good covers, man. We can do covers good. I hope one day it does come out.
What's your favorite cover that you've worked on?
Love My Way from Psychedelic Furs. What else? We did Head Like a Hole from Nails. The Stroke from Billy Squier, stuff like that.
Do you try and take a very different approach to those songs?
We just make it ours. Yeah. And somehow we pull it off. I think my favorite cover we did was Kidnap the Sandy Claus. Yeah. That one was pretty dope, from Nightmare Before Christmas. And I got to do that with Danny in Mexico. We did a show, and I got to sing in front of an orchestra and with Danny. It was pretty crazy. It was awesome.
Just to end on talking about the record that is coming.
Yeah.
So that's coming out this side of the year, and then you'll be hitting the road.
Yeah, we're gonna be going out and touring with Alice in Chains. We're doing that summer tour, and then after that, we're gonna do another tour after that pretty soon, and that'll finish out the year. And then we're gonna hit it hard. We'll probably be in Europe next year, probably during the festival season, hopefully.
Excited to get back into the Korn swing of things after the solo record things.
Yeah, I mean it's a totally different thing. I can't wait to get out there and just play and do what I do and get this all out. I want to bring this new record to the world and play the favorites, and life's too short. I'm just having a good time. I'm just gonna do what I love, and hopefully people dig it.
Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks to you guys for coming.
Appreciate it.